Welcome to the F1 News Zone, the show where we round up the biggest stories in Formula 1 right now. We're still waiting for the action to get underway at the Circuit of the Americas later this month, but there's plenty of stories to cover at the moment. This week it was revealed that Renault will shut down its F1 engine programme, Sir Lewis Hamilton opened up about his lifelong battle with depression, and Max Verstappen may need to win some more races to win the title in 2024, and that's according to Dr. Helmut Marko. We cover all that and a whole lot more on today's show. Let's dive in. So it looks as though Daniel Ricciardo may have an offer on the table from a Formula 1 team. That Formula 1 team being Red Bull, but not to drive for them. Let's have a look at this full article on the F1Chronicle.com. As always, you guys, you know how it is on here. So, Red Bull's Formula 1 empire is offering Daniel Ricciardo a new job. Dr. Helmut Marko has confirmed. Singapore was the 35-year-old Australian's last ever Formula 1 race, replaced by New Zealand driver Liam Lawson at the energy drink company's second team RB. Ricciardo admitted in Singapore that he is not interested in an IndyCar seat as it scares him. But he was an effective PR and marketing representative for Red Bull last year when he was trying to break back onto the grid. Of course, he was the reserve driver for Red Bull at that time, and he has said since that he will not go back to being a reserve driver for any team. He's not interested in that. So what is this new role? Marko, who is Red Bull's top F1 consultant, says that that sort of role will be available to the personable and popular Australian once again. So just purely a marketing person. Interesting. We've had some conversations and we're clearly interested, said the 81-year-old Australian to Formel1.de. He's one of the most popular drivers, especially in the United States and Australia and the UK. A lot of places, really. He wants to take some time to decide about his future, Marko added. I don't think he'll go into another category. On the other hand, if he is not racing anymore, does he still want to do his PR things? He has a lot of money, so it's up to him how he wants to shape his future. Yeah, it's interesting for sure because, I didn't know that about the IndyCar thing. I would have liked to see him in IndyCar. I'd love to see him in NASCAR as well. He's not said no to NASCAR yet, but, just take his time, spend the rest of the year just chilling or whatever. Just go back to Perth in Australia, go back to the farm, just chill out, relax, reset, go for like a new kind of beginning as someone who is retired, well, at least retired from Formula 1 anyway. Whether he'll go back to driving or PR is another thing. I don't know if he'll do the PR stuff. Maybe he genuinely enjoys it. I think he does to an extent, but whether he would stick around in Red Bull after they didn't handle the situation the best. I don't want to say that Red Bull have done him dirty because they gave him his chance in Formula 1 back in the day and provided him with a car that got 7 of his 8 wins in Formula 1. I don't want to say that Red Bull haven't done anything for him because they clearly have. But whether he'll feel like he owes them but wants to be associated with them still after all this, who knows? It won't be as stressful being a marketing person or, a kind of face of Red Bull rather than, being a Formula 1 driver, which is an absolute pressure cooker of an environment. But let's have a look what's also in this article. So it's an interesting and fascinating period for Red Bull's championship charging main team Red Bull Racing, with speculation still swirling around Sergio Perez's cockpit. Marko said that he even worried that the swearing scandal might really compel Max Verstappen to consider an early and shock retirement. If it all gets ruined for him, even more, then he is the type to say, okay, that's it. He really means it, he said. We spoke at length on Tuesday. He still has to do some media activities, but otherwise he can now rest. He has to be ready for the long and exciting title fight. He's referring to Max Verstappen here. If Max Verstappen really does quit, Red Bull is already eyeing George Russell. Yeah, I've done a video on that. Whose long-term Mercedes contract only guarantees him a race seat at the works team until the end of 25. Russell is equal to or even faster than Lewis Hamilton in qualifying, said Marko, but I'm focusing on our juniors first. However, Marko also said his eyes on Franco Colapinto, who, although under contract to Williams, was recently offered on loan to Audi Sauber for 2025. Yes, although he's part of the Williams race team, said the Austrian, but that can change. He does not have the seat for next year. Of course, he doesn't have a seat at all, but does Colapinto at the moment in Formula 1 and probably won't get one. I feel like it's between Bortoleto and Bottas for that Sauber seat, but we'll see. I see that he has potential in the future after what he showed in Baku and Singapore, but now he wants to see what our juniors can do, and Yuki can still be considered a junior. Right, so yeah, interesting stuff. Do I think Ricciardo's going to do this marketing thing? No, probably not. I think he just wants a clean break and to start again. I don't want to see him kind of hanging around and being one foot through the door sort of thing. I mean, it's up to him. If he wants to do it, he can, but I don't see it personally. I don't think that's going to happen. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Ricciardo's going to stick around at Red Bull as some sort of PR marketing face of the company? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think he should do that as well? Oh, here we go. So the axe has fallen on future of the Alpine engine development program in Formula 1. Let's have a look at this. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com as always, guys. This is a story that we've been covering for the last few months or so. It's gone from being a rumour to being a heavy rumour to being pretty much confirmed that Alpine and Renault, well, at least Renault engines anyway, are going to leave Formula 1 in the near future. But let's have a look on what is going on here. So, the axe has fallen on French-made engines in Formula 1. That's the reaction of the country's biggest and most influential sports publication, L'Equipe, as the Renault Group confirms that operations at Viry-Châtillon will no longer focus on Formula 1 power unit manufacturing. Formula 1 activities at Viry, excluding the development of a new engine, will continue until the end of the 2025 season, the Alpine owning car maker declared in a statement. So, it looks like it's gonna stop after 25. According to that, obviously 26 is when the new engines come in, so it makes sense. The engines next year are fundamentally going to be the same as this year, with a few little tweaks and little innovations and stuff in there. But yeah, kind of sad for sure. And you know, it's pretty damning report from L'Equipe there. You know, essentially the French national sports paper, you know. The move is designed not only to save money, but give the struggling Enstone-based Formula 1 team an immediate performance boost by switching to customer Mercedes power. Strong rumours suggest that Alpine will not only buy Mercedes power units, but also the gearbox and rear suspension, like the Aston Martin team do at present. So essentially they'll become what Aston Martin are now. Aston Martin are moving to Honda for 2026, and I imagine things like gearboxes and suspension and stuff like that are going to be supplied by themselves effectively. They've got a big new factory, haven't they? So why not? Staff at Viry, however, are furious. Even though they have all been promised jobs at the rejigged operations at Viry, Hypertech Alpine. Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur told L'Equipe that his mailbox is overflowing with CVs from France. The axe has fallen, L'Equipe correspondent Eric Bilderman dramatically declared. Former Renault F1 engine chief Denis Chevier told the Sports Daily, Alpine wants to make F1 cheap. That's what they've always wanted to do. That's why they didn't succeed in the transition to build hybrid engines, unlike their competitors. It's the unfortunate demonstration that if you don't want to put in the resources, then after a while, you can't live on the past and the ship lost its speed little by little. That's a very good way of putting it. No doubt this engine is not the best on the grid, you don't say, he added, but the decision was taken in the opposite of that which a boss who aims for excellence with his company should take. Another former F1 figure at Renault, Bruno Madouy, added that it's disintegrated over time. When I left there 2 years ago, I told them as I left, you broke the toy. Today we have no arguments to continue. What has been done in recent years is not enough, and everyone is at fault. I wasn't happy 1 or 2 years ago, but it's now agony. We have to stop the bleeding. Current Alpine driver Esteban Ocon is fleeing to Haas for 25, but even Pierre Gasly, who was signed on to stay, is distraught about the current performance situation at the team. Basically, the problem is that we're just too slow, he told after the Singapore Grand Prix. It means you end up trying things that are, well, in the end, I was losing 4 seconds per lap. I don't really have the words because these are things that we have to see about internally, but the basic problem is that we're just way too slow. Yeah, I mean, the Alpine this year has been pretty bad, to be honest. I mean, they're in 9th in the constructors now. They're behind Williams, so it's not going good. It's not going good. I feel like Mercedes engines will probably help them out, to be honest with you, but it is sad because you've got that is a French national team, basically, you know. There's a lot of pride in there, and unfortunately that pride is not being repaid. I hope all those guys and girls that have been reallocated to another program, I hope they have nice jobs and I hope they do very well, but from what I can tell, because they literally protested during the Italian Grand Prix last month, they're not happy. And why would they be? So, yeah, interesting times for sure for Renault and Alpine. It does seem as though the team is beginning the end, you know, to be honest. That's just my thoughts. I feel like they're going to probably sell to Andretti. I can genuinely see that happening. But guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Is Alpine switching to Mercedes engines a good thing or is it a bad thing? So it's fair to say that Franco Colapinto has had a significant impact on Formula 1 since his arrival in the sport just 3 races ago. He became the first Argentine driver to drive in Formula 1 since 2001, literally since the guy was born. But are we going to get an Argentine Grand Prix on the calendar? Well, it's been a long time. There hasn't been an Argentine Grand Prix on the Formula 1 calendar since 1998. Now, this is a historic race. In fact, the likes of Juan Manuel Fangio won his home race back in the day. And it always took place on a circuit just outside of Buenos Aires, which is now known as the Autodromo Oscar y Juan Galvez, a bit like a Rodriguez circuit in Mexico City. It's named after a couple of Argentine racing heroes. But is it likely? Is it likely to get a race again? Are we going to go back to Argentina in Formula 1? Well, according to this, there is an actual chance of this. So I'll just read out the quotes we've got here. Not an article today for a change on F1 Chronicle.com, just a bit of information I've been sent here. So, improving economic conditions and the meteoric debut of Franco Colapinto have breathed new life into Argentina's Formula 1 aspirations. Backed by a bevy of Argentine sponsors paying about $500,000 per race to Williams, the 21-year-old Colapinto recently replaced Logan Sargent and made an immediate impact on the sport. And while reports suggest that Sauber has selected Valtteri Bottas, so boring, to be paired with Nico Hülkenberg next year, Williams boss James Vowles says he is discussing potentially loaning Colapinto to the Audi-owned Sauber team next year. I always say that. I always say Saudi instead of Audi Sauber. For transparency, we are in conversations to see that Audi is a route for him, where he could be on the grid for them for the next 2 years, Vowles has told the Wall Street Journal. I've learned that the Formula 1 driver situation is never truly settled, he added. It's good news for us. We're signed, but I think next year you're going to see more movement. Former Argentine F1 driver Miguel Angel Guerra thinks that Colapinto can have a Verstappen-like effect, but this time with Argentina, which hasn't been on the F1 calendar since 1998. We have an impressive driver now, he told iconic Argentine sports magazine El Gráfico. He is the Argentine Verstappen. Big words, but I know what he means in terms of how the country will back him. Yeah. Any astute team boss should be talking to Colapinto. Since Argentina lost its Grand Prix some 26 years ago, the economic situation in the country has dramatically worsened. However, there are now clear signs of recovery since the election last year of Libertarian President Javier Milei. Argentina is ready for the return of Formula 1, declared Daniel Scioli, the Argentine sports minister. A Grand Prix is a global event, he added. This provides jobs, international tourists and foreign currency. The conditions are there for us, as are the private investments that will finance the event. Argentines have once again set their sights on the top category of motorsport due to the Colapinto phenomenon, Minister added. I have spoken with President Milei about bringing Formula 1 back to Argentina. Well, Dan, you can say these things, but actually making them happen is another. And we know that politicians don't always tell the truth. They use their words in positive fashion to make themselves look good. I'm not going to get into politics, of course, but it'd be nice to have Argentina back on the calendar, but there are more than a few snags in that chain. The biggest one being that there are 24 races on the calendar, and that's going to be the limit. So for Argentina to come onto the calendar, there's going to have to be someone that makes way. Who's going to make way for Argentina? Plus, Argentina would have to pay a lot of money for that to be done. The hosting fees in Formula 1 are incredible, and for a race like Argentina, they probably have to spend upwards of $50 million per year. Now, although Argentine conditions are improving economically, there are a lot of question marks. If you look to MotoGP, which we also cover on motochronicle.com, the Argentine Motorcycle Grand Prix has been cancelled this year. It didn't take place, which is very worrying because to host a MotoGP round is a lot cheaper than hosting a Formula 1 race. And on top of that as well, there are other conditions in there as well because there is no Grade 1 circuit currently in Argentina. Termas had a Grade 2 status up until 2019, but that license expired, and as far as I can tell from my research on the internet, there is no Grade 2 on there now, so it would have to not only apply for a new license but also try and get Grade 1. To do that, it would have to go with a lot of renovations. Now, there is of course the Buenos Aires circuit as well, which I think would be the preference of Formula 1 to go around. But that track is not up to scratch either. That does not have any grading again by the FIA. There are no Grade 1, 2, 3 or 4 circuits as far as I can tell in Argentina. There isn't any. So they'd have to go through that. It's a lengthy process to get that. And we're seeing how much money has been invested into Formula One when it comes to these tracks and making sure that they're up to scratch for F1. I mean, look at what Monza's done. Look at what Hungary's doing. Look what Belgium's had to do. Silverstone, massive investment, and they'd have to put that. So not only have you got a massive race hosting fee, you'd have to apply for that as well to get a grade 1. You'd also have to renovate whatever circuit is there too. It would be a massive investment. I'm not saying it's impossible because without getting too much into politics, Argentina has a history when it comes to, not greasing palms. I don't want to say that because that's not true. Not necessarily anyway, possibly, but I couldn't even confirm or deny that. But they've got a history of putting on big events, like the World Cup, for example, in '78, I want to say, where they use this to kind of legitimise their regime. Not quite sports washing, I'm not saying that, but a little. We're seeing it now with some other races too, so it could happen. It could absolutely happen, but if it's going to happen, it has to be either a new circuit or a completely renovated one, like Masari's or Termas, and I think it's pretty unlikely even then. But what do you guys think? Do you think Argentina is going to come back onto the Formula One calendar? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if it does, where should it be at? A new track, Termas, or Buenos Aires? So something happened at the Singapore Grand Prix in terms of the championship battle in the Drivers' Championship between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. I believe actually with Daniel Ricciardo's fastest lap, not points, but the fastest lap that he took away from Lando Norris, that means now that Norris would, even if he wins every race, including the sprint races, and gets all the fastest laps, and Max Verstappen finishes second in every single race, that means that Verstappen will win the title by a small margin, I believe. But Dr. Helmut Marko has come out in the media and said that second places are not enough for a Max Verstappen title. Let's see what he means here. So, full article on the F1 Chronicle as always, guys. So, a new wind tunnel should help Red Bull return to full competitiveness in the future, according to the brand's top F1 consultant, Dr. Helmut Marko. Amid the scandals of early 2024 preceding a loss of dominance and several top staff and raging speculation about the future, Max Verstappen's father, Jos, said he warned about the situation from the start if Christian Horner hung on to his job. Sure, Jos, sure you did. Marko, though, insists it's only a natural progression that Red Bull has struggled to hang on to top team members who are being offered high positions and more money by rivals. It's a natural development when you are successful as we are, that people are poached, he told Formula 1 DE. And of course, there is always one person who can hold on to these top positions, only one person that can hold on to these top positions. The latest departure is strategy boss Will Courtney, who will become McLaren's new sporting director, but Marko insists that he can easily be replaced. In this case, that is Hannah Schmitz, the 81-year-old Austrian declared. She's fantastic, I love her, she's great. I love how some of the top strategists in Formula 1 as well are female, like Ruth Boscombe, she does commentary now for, or at least she's on some of the F1 TV stuff. She was great as well, fantastic during her time at Sauber, I want to say. I think she was doing some of the strategies there, or back when it was Alfa Romeo, actually. I think it was technically at that point, even though Alfa Romeo was sponsored, but there we go. We offered him, Courtney, a new offer, but he wasn't interested. He received an offer that is more attractive in terms of position and also financially. Marko also called on those remaining at Red Bull to pull together and maintain a clear focus on defending Max Verstappen's lead in the drivers' standings. It's clear, we have to work together to win this championship, he said. We also have to be able to build a successful car. I'm optimistic that when Max Verstappen wins again, Sergio Perez takes third or fourth place, it will look different again. Big if. There's also a big gap now between Singapore and the USA, so this is kind of the last chance saloon of doing a major update to the car to try and get it back to the front of the grid. And in fairness, it has been looking better recently. Max Verstappen's podium, his second place in Singapore, was his first podium since Silverstone, was it? It's been a while, it's been a long time. Oh no, Dutch Grand Prix, it's not been that long, but still, they've not looked that competitive for some time anyway. Mathematically, second place finishes for Verstappen, with Norris winning every remaining Grand Prix will be enough for the driver's title. But Marko is sceptical. We can only do that if Max wins at least 2 more races, he predicts. If he does that, things will also look more optimistic in the Constructors' Championship. It's not looking good in the Constructors' Championship right now for him. I think that's fair to say. The Austrian said Red Bull has upped its game since hitting a low at Monza, but while agreeing that it's a step in the right direction, the improvement so far is not enough. Winning, so it's not enough, of course it's not by their standards. We've worked very hard on improving, said Marko, but I think the real difference in performance will only show in Austin. We have something else there, he added, referring to car upgrades. Of course you'd expect car upgrades, like I said, big gap between now and the next race. But I agree with Horner. Monza was more than a wake-up call. That was the worst race since, I can't even remember when. In terms of strategy, pit stop, speed, we were way off. Now at least we should not have small changes ruining the performance, or the temperature differences of 6 or 7 degrees ruining the performance. Max just needs a car that bites at the front. As for Verstappen, spurred on by his ultra-critical father, speculation is raging that he will trigger an exit clause at the end of the year and jump ship to either Mercedes or Aston Martin. But Marco says Red Bull is also a team of the future. A modern wind tunnel will help us, he said. Our wind tunnel dates from just after the Second World War. That has its disadvantages, of course. It takes a very long time to increase the temperature in it. The tunnel is simply outdated. We are far from up to date with the latest techniques, so I hope that our new wind tunnel can be put into use in 2026. Yeah, I've heard stories about that wind tunnel actually being way old. I didn't realise it was actually from the Second World War. That's an antique. That's an antique, man. That ain't a modern piece of equipment. That's an antique. And to think that Adrian Newey designed many championship-winning cars, the most dominant car in F1 history in 2023. So there we go, guys. What do you guys think? Is Verstappen going to settle for these second places? Will that be enough for his championship? I think he needs to get a win or two. I'd see what Marco is saying. Because as well, on top of that, what if Verstappen retires from one of these races? Doesn't happen very often in modern Formula 1, but what if he retires? That's 25 points down the pan effectively. And Norris is a lot closer as a result. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. So this story completely missed me by this weekend. And it relates to Sir Lewis Hamilton revealing that he's had a lifelong battle with depression after being bullied at school. Now, Sir Lewis has hinted at stuff like this before about the abuse that he and his father got when going through karting, a lot of that unfortunately being racist abuse, of course, as well, about how difficult it was to actually get to Formula 1, the fact that without McLaren and Ron Dennis believing him at such a young age, he never would have made it. Financially it would have been too much of a burden for his father. The guy was working 3 jobs and had to remortgage his house. And he's revealed that he's had a lifelong battle with depression. And he did kind of hint at him suffering mentally in recent years, particularly before he won at the British Grand Prix earlier this season. He doubted whether he could actually do this anymore, whether he was still a top-level athlete, which to us, he absolutely is, there's no doubt about that. But imposter syndrome, the noise around a lot of these things, it can affect people. I get it, I have a very small amount of that on my videos. I get some absolutely horrific comments from people. I get some lovely comments too, of course, and I really appreciate everybody who's supporting us, everybody who's following, liking, sharing, commenting, all that good stuff, I do appreciate that, but sometimes we get some absolutely horrific comments, not just aimed at me, aimed at other people as well, and it's not very nice reading that stuff. You scale that up to Sir Lewis, who's got millions of social media followers, and even if he only sees 0.01% of these comments, of these hateful things, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. It's got to do. So, shouts out to The Guardian. I apologise if this is a longer video because I can imagine I've got a lot to say on this, but yeah, let's go through this. So, Lewis Hamilton has revealed that he struggled with mental health issues for most of his life due to being bullied at school and the pressure of racing. The 7-time Formula 1 world champion said he has had depression since his teenage years. Hamilton, who has mixed-race parents, experienced racism as a child growing up in Stevenage. He told the Sunday Times, "When I was in my 20s, I had some really difficult phases. I've struggled with mental health throughout my life. I've had depression. From a very early age, when I was like 13, I think, it was the pressure of racing and struggling at school, the bullying. I had no one to talk to." I know how that feels, man. It's horrible. People can be real horrible at school. Kids can be awful to each other. After a period of soul-searching during the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, Hamilton began waking up at 5 a.m. to meditate before going on a run. "I would struggle to initially calm my mind," he said, "but it's a really great way of getting in touch with myself, my inner feelings, understanding what I can do." The 39-year-old sits 6th in the current Formula 1 drivers' standings following 2 Grand Prix wins during the 2024 season. He'll move to Ferrari at the end of the campaign after 12 seasons with Mercedes. Asked if he ever has seen a therapist, Hamilton said, "I spoke to one woman years ago, but that wasn't really helpful. I would like to find someone today." Well, best of luck to you, Lewis. I hope you find someone because, and again, I'm sure there's going to be some people that come with the same rhetoric. "Oh, he's rich, he has no problems." absolute, I'm not even going to say the word, absolute rubbish, guys. And it doesn't matter how much money you have, you need to have a therapist that, can connect with you, someone that understands you, someone that you feel comfortable talking to. Whoever that is, And even if it's just someone, like a really good friend, like a partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whoever, I really feel for Lewis, and I think, this is really brave of him to open up about this. I mean, Lando Norris did something similar a couple of years ago where he opened up about his struggles. Max Verstappen is someone else who I would like to mention this as well, because I don't think he's really been open about his struggles, and that's absolutely on him. If he wants to do that, that's him. I'm not going to say that he should do this or that or whatever, but I feel like he's had some real struggles as well, and it's really come out in some horrible, angry outbursts, like at the Hungarian Grand Prix. That really did scream to me of a guy that is struggling. It's really hard, and I've already spoke about Lando Norris at length about how I applauded him for speaking out about this. I'm doing the same for Lewis Hamilton. So I applaud him for speaking about this, about his openness with it. It's really horrible because, again, even on something like this, he's going to get people that are saying, no wonder he was getting bullied. He's this and that. No one deserves that. No one deserves that. And school can be absolutely brutal for these things, and it can just keep going with this. I mean, I was bullied in school. I was. I'm not going to say what people used to say about me, but yeah, I was basically not. Not appreciated for my looks, my appearance, how I went about pretty much anything. It didn't really matter, really. And once these kids do this to you, they don't stop. They always say, "Oh, ignore them; they'll go away." They don't. They don't, because they're just idiots. They're looking for a reaction, and they'll keep going until they get one. And I can't imagine what Lewis went through with that, because it's horrible. So particularly with all the pressure that was on him as well, he would have felt that. I mean, his dad was very, very supportive of him growing up, of course, and went absolutely above and beyond. That guy's an absolute hero, is Anthony Hamilton. Not just for Lewis, but also the way he raised his brother as well, Nick, who of course suffers with cerebral palsy, which, that's a very difficult thing to go through as well. So, I've really got to give props to him for that. And Lewis would have felt the pressure of that. Like, my dad is working himself to the bone to support me. I have to deliver here. That's pressure. That's pressure. That absolutely is, and that's a lot. So, and he's scaled up to Formula One, where he's doubting himself. He's thinking, "Can I still do this anymore?" And people online love to abuse Lewis Hamilton. People online love to abuse Hamilton. Back in the day as well, not so much now, I think, but back in the day as well. I'm not going to name names, but you guys know the publications I'm talking about. You know which ones I'm referring to here. But some newspapers absolutely tore him a new one on a regular basis. And the stuff they used to say about him was borderline racist as well a lot of the time. So, you're getting that from national newspapers here in the UK, which, despite print press being on the out, obviously, they still hold a lot of sway and a lot of power, and a lot of eyeballs still pay attention to them. People on the news still round up the papers. People on the radio still round up the papers. That's what they do. So they're still big outlets. So, props to Hamilton for coming out with this. Props to The Guardian for publishing this as well. Props to PA Media as well, because I think that's the original source of this interview by lots of things. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments below, just on this whole subject about mental health in racing, because it's something that isn't really talked about much. It's not really talked about much at all, unfortunately. And it is changing. It is changing. Hamilton, Norris being the two most outspoken people, I would say, on this. So credit to them, all power to them. And I hope, Hamilton, I hope you find a therapist. I know you're probably not listening to this. Well, I'd be shocked if you were, but I hope he finds a therapist or finds someone to talk to, and hope things just get better, I hope that move to Ferrari gives you the spur on that you need, just like those wins that this season has as well. So yeah, we'll see you soon for some more Formula One opinions here on the F1Chronicle.com. See you soon, guys.